All right, good morning and happy chilly Monday. It's Coach Moomaw here. Going to go over some of the rules of flag football. I'm going to let you into my first period class so I could save my voice and not do this 6 times today. So we'll go over some of these rules. It's what makes it safe here in PE to be able to play, and we'll go from there.
Everybody from my team is behind an imaginary line. Now, when I say line of scrimmage, there's not a line there. That line is imaginary. And so what you need to do is make sure that everybody down that line is behind before I say hike. Now, if somebody's being lazy from your team and they're not coming back on time, you can't say hike. So it's important that you understand you got to get everybody back every time, or that play's not going to count. Okay? And that's called being onsides or offsides. So you got to make sure everybody is onsides. Okay? Now, when we do onsides, I use one of those small cones that he just went to get to mark the onsides. Because what will happen is, if we do a play and we just kind of mark it with our foot in the dirt, all of a sudden we're a little bit further up, and then it's changed. So that cone is going to stay right where the last play ended, and until we get further up the field. And then if I pass it up, the ball up the field to Vernon and we get a first down, I'm the quarterback, I'm going to scoop up this cone and take it up to the new spot. Okay? And that new spot then won't move until next time. Also, we use the cone to hike and snap this ball. So if this cone is on the ground here, there's going to be a center and a quarterback back there. So the ball's on the cone, he'll say hike, whoosh, I'll hike it back to him, and then the play is live. Okay? So I don't need you to go between your legs like that. Nobody wants that. All you got to do is be on the side, have it be touching the cone. They say hike, you hike it to them, and then the center is actually allowed to go out to receive the ball. Now, if you don't know what a center is, that's the person that actually snaps or hikes it in real football, and that's what starts a play. So when you hear hike or go or set, that means you're allowed to go past that imaginary line of scrimmage and head out and get a pass. Now, in real football, not everyone's allowed to catch a pass. The person that hikes it, their job is to only protect the quarterback and keep people away. And you make a lot of millions of dollars if you can do it really well. But the point is, in flag football, no one wants to do that. No one wants to stand there and hike all day. So we let everybody go out, just so you know. Okay? Let me mark these off as I go. So that's being on sides, hiking from the cone, center can go out. Now, this is a unique rule. Nobody can be the same quarterback 2 plays in a row. Okay, so you're going to need to have a rotating quarterback. So if Cash and I are on the same team, I might be quarterback this play, snap a pass over to Mark, we move up, I cannot be the quarterback again. It's got to be back and forth. Now, you can let everybody be it, but I'm not making you. All I'm saying is the same person can't sit back there and be the quarterback the entire game. Okay? So it makes it more fun. People are rotating, you're out, you go out for a pass, you're throwing a pass, that type of thing. All right? Questions on that? All right. Cool. And that you'll kind of forget. Some of these rules you'll forget, because if you're a real football player, like this no stiff arming rule. The first thing you do when you catch a football and somebody tries to come up to you, boom! You're like, get away from me, stiff arm. But you can't do that in PE, because then nobody's got helmets on, no one, we don't have mouth guards, stuff like that. So you just got to be able to run with the ball. So I know all you football players are going to, at the first, be like, oh, stiff arm. You're like, dang it, I'm an idiot. But that's the rule for PE. So if I stiff arm and JP comes up to me, boom, I give him a stiff arm, I still get all the yards. But the play's dead right there. Okay? And then that's the penalty, because I don't get to keep running. All right? So if JP's got to call that out. Stiff arm, and it's usually pretty obvious, and the person forgets. And you just have to run with the ball. You make moves, you run, you keep your hands in. Okay? Flag guarding, same deal. When I put on my flag, it's got to be snapped around the front and on the outside of my shirt. If my shirt is too long, then it can't be on the outside, then you need to tuck it in. All right, you need to provide 3 targets, both sides and the back. And you cannot guard these also. So when I'm running with the football, running down the field, I can't like put those away or hold them to myself. Again, all I can do is run. And what you'll find out is the spin move is probably the best move in the game, because you make those flags move and people can't really grab them as easy. Okay? Next, if you want to be a blocker. So I throw the ball downfield, my teammate catches it. I guess I don't need that for right now. If I want to block for him, you basically have to set a pick like in basketball. All right? In basketball, when you set a pick, you have to be still. So I can run up the field. I got to put my hands behind my back, and then I can get in somebody's way, but I can't come up and bump anybody. There can be no contact when you're blocking. So you can be very useful. If somebody's trying to run at your person, you kind of get in their way, and they'll have to run around you. That might give somebody enough time to take the Tyreek Hill speed to the house. But at that time, you have to have your hands down. You have to have them behind your back, and you can't really bump into anyone. Okay? I already talked about wearing your flag on the outside of your shirt, so make sure it's on the outside. For our field, the fields are going to be smaller. It's going to be high-scoring games. It's not going to be 3-1 or whatever at the end. We're going to go by ones because it's easier to keep track of outside. If we're going by 6s and 7s like the real game goes by, it'll be outside like, 41 to, like, no, it just go by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's easier when we're just keeping track and then people aren't arguing. All right? So there's no first downs. You have 4 plays to score. All right? So you got to kind of have that as your strategy. If you don't get any yards on the first couple of downs, you've got to either get big chunks of yards or you got to consider throwing a deep one because you only got 4 plays and that's all it's going to be. You either score or you don't score. So there's no punts, no kick field goals. It's just touchdown or no touchdown. Okay? So like I just said that, no extra points. We're playing by ones. Next thing, you can't get too emotional. If you're being rough or not being a good sport, you're never throwing to certain people on your team because, you'd say, oh, you stink, you're this. It's still PE. I want to win every game that I play in too, but I don't want to be a jerk about it, and I don't want you to. So if at the very end the score is tied, and I've never ever passed to Cash the entire time because he's so horrible, even though that had never happened to him, now he's never played. But if I pass to him early in the game, like I give him a try early on, now I can, he feels like he did a little something. But you got to include people, all right? This is not your team where you get 15 targets and we don't pass to this kid, oh, he can't catch. Come on, you got to remember what we're at and what we're doing. So make sure you are a good sport, good language. I know you guys forget and you think you're on the playground and sometimes the language goes flying. You're running laps for that language, so make sure you keep it in check. And also the rough play. I feel like two-hand tap sometimes is more rough than flag football because what do you do in two-hand tap? Right? You give them that little extra shove because that's kind of part of it. But with the flags, you should be good. Other than that, it shouldn't get too rough. Just keep your emotions in check. It's not real football. If you care about real football, Naples High School will be over here in about 8 weeks, I believe, to start recruiting for spring workouts and talking about next year. So you 8th graders, you're about to be playing real football. So make sure you understand the difference. This rule is tough. No fumbles. There's no such thing as a fumble. If you fumble the ball, play's over, boom, move the cone, we're done. Okay? And the reason why is because I can't have people with no equipment on diving on the ground, fighting over balls, eye gouging, that type of thing. So if somebody fumbles, boom, play over. If I lateral it to Cash to try to extend the play, or I do a running play where I pitch it, if it hits the ground, that's it. Nope, no more yards, nobody dives for it. It's just on to the next play. All right, so fumbles are dead balls, meaning the play's over and we move on. Okay? Speaking of laterals, so now real football players are like, all right, so I'm going to figure out ways around these rules to make sure I can still, be good. A lateral is when I'm running up the field and I pitch it backwards to somebody else. You're allowed to do that in football. Now, it's risky in real football because the other team could get it too. But lateral means backwards. I can never throw it forwards. If I've already crossed the line of scrimmage or I've already caught a ball, I can't throw it further forward up the field. I can only go backwards. That's called a lateral. And you can do that one time per play in PE. Now, in the real game, you can do it nonstop. I could pitch it, but we're only going to allow it one time because it gets too confusing. So, you can design plays where I throw the ball to Vernon, he catches it, pitches it back to Jaden, who's going 1,000,000 miles an hour and runs for a touchdown. That's called, you can do those, but you can only do that one time. You can't pitch it more than once. Okay? If you fall down, play's over. So even if your flag is not pulled, it's still around your waist, but you slipped and fell to the ground, that's it. Dead. Play's over. This one prevents arguments. Every down needs announced. So when we're coming up to the cone, all right, second down. And if the defense doesn't agree, we stop and figure it out right there. We don't get to third and fourth. Then you're going, that was fourth. No, it wasn't. And we have arguments for no reason. So announce the down every down. All right, here we go, second down. And then hike it. And then every time you score, say, hey, confirm with the other captain, hey, what scores 3-2? We're winning right now. Like, and they go, all right, yeah. So that way you don't get to the end and be like, no, it was tied. Then you start getting people, people get fired up. There's no kickoffs. We're just going to start on the 0-yard line, the goal line. The goal line is the other team's touchdown, so you have to go the whole field in 4 plays. But it's not a giant field. It'll be a miniature field, which is going to probably be 30 yards or so. So you'll have to get about 30 yards in 4 plays. And then the last thing I said, we can't, listen, I'm not saying if you're not injured to not go to the nurse. But if you stub your finger because you can't catch a football, please don't go running to the nurse and I need ice. Oh, in football, it's really rough out there. Like, you start giving that impression, and then all of a sudden football doesn't seem as safe, and we're not able to play it. I have no problem playing football from now to the Super Bowl's over, all the way in the beginning of February, whatever. I like to play. You guys like to play. It usually lasts 2 or 3 weeks. But if people get fired up and if people, start getting too rough, it's going to end sooner, and I'll make you come inside and do bowling instead. Who would rather do bowling? Raise your hand. No one? Football? Anyone rather do football instead of? Okay, that's what I thought. So we're going to keep that. Now, by the way, we don't have to. We're not doing bowling next. We're going to do handball. But I just wanted you guys to know that football is a privilege. It is a big privilege. You can have a ton of fun out there. But you got to kind of absorb these rules and make that work, so that way we can play in PE. All right. Questions. All right. After we play a scrimmage game one day, you're going to say, hey, so-and-so's team did this. Are you allowed to do that? And then you're going to start to kind of figure it out. There's ways to listen, every good coach takes the rules and figures out the ways to go around them. Like, okay, so if you can lateral at once, I could do this. Like, and you start to figure these things out. All right, so there's still ways to have some trick plays. There's still ways to use your athletes the most. And